Well, I want to give you some common sense perspective on a lot of things. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom videos out there, and I see quite a few of them. But I'm gonna give you really what the hell is the elite really worried about the most? Money. It's money, right? And how do I know this? Well, as an accountant that had high-end clients and also worked for people that were high net worth people, and I was their main accountant, it's like money is on their brain 24 hours a day. I mean, there's no rest for the wicked, okay? And they're not all that wicked. I mean, not everybody's all that wicked. Um, I could say that they got dual personalities at least. There's a family personality, a friendship personality, then there's a business personality. Many people say, I'd never work for that guy in a million years. I know how he really is. He's a nice guy when you meet him. He's a nice guy at his home. And I worked for him, and I was like a slave, okay? Um, but I do know that um, they, in turn, are owned by their passions. And it's almost like politicians get caught up in a trap and all that. Now, what can really unravel... Now, one thing I'm going to tell you this. One aspect that is a monkey wrench in the whole 9 yards is the military. Um, everybody looks at, these charts and graphs, and when it really comes down to it, the military's got the most, it's got the power. Um, Not absolute because they don't know everything there is about running the economy, but the military can act, and don't think they're going to go act in the interest of the people. They're not, but they'll act. There's people on the top in the military that'll act in their interest, in their own interest, and in a lot of ways they're far more dangerous than any of these evil banksters that people are harping on about, on the internet, because they do have the ultimate control. Now, the one thing in the United States we have, the right to bear arms, so that can put a quash on that kind of a problem. But as you know, the United Nations is always trying to dismantle that through the UN Arms Treaty, right? If the United States ever becomes a party to that. Now, I want to tell you though, this even when you're talking about elite, there's a lot of different factions out there. This is what always gets me about, people say they know what the elite are doing. It reminds me, like, say, for instance, I was an accountant for somebody that, had a lot of money, right? And I know what that guy's doing, but I don't know exactly. We think we know what the other people are doing, but we really don't. And that's exactly what goes on a global level. I mean, people think on the United States, they think they know what the Russians are doing, or the Chinese are doing, or the Europeans are doing, or the Saudis are doing, or whatever, and nobody really knows. And everybody's trying to be top dog. I mean, that's just common sense, and nobody really knows the outcome. Now, personally, I think the United States is actually on the brink of a freaking catastrophic failure in the economy due to this, our military spending. We're spending ourselves into oblivion, and it's quite obvious that it's going to be coming down. I just don't know exactly when, but it reminds me of so many other bubbles out there. Nobody knows exactly when, and everybody thinks, oh, well, I remember people telling me they made so much money in the stock market in 1999 or 95 or 96, and by 1999, the whole thing came down. They thought it wouldn't come down that much. Same type of deal. I knew about people who were making all kinds of money during the construction booms. Now, Donald Trump, he's making a lot of money. His net worth is a lot predicated upon his commercial real estate, which is definitely in a bubble. Not real estate in general, but commercial real estate is definitely in a bubble. And, his old girl here says, I'd like to thank the devil and all the dark lords who gave this award. Well, that's pretty much what these people are doing. I saw something interesting. It was the head Jesuit in a Catholic church. He said that, and it was actually brought to my attention by other Catholics who are against what's going on in the current Catholic Church today. The head Jesuit said that the Satan is not actually an entity or not a being. It's just an idea or an ideal of evil. That's just a descriptive word for what we put for evil. And that's complete heresy. Satan actually does exist. There's no doubt about it. You can see on the internet and go on YouTube and look at what Bob Dylan makes. He flat out says he made a deal with the man, the guy, the chief, the devil himself. Now, a lot of this is actually, I think, is all throughout, not just entertainment, but also throughout politics. Now, recently, I put out a lot of different videos on, the Confederacy, and you know what? It is related to what's going on here today, because we had a major shift in the United States due to this war between the states, which really wasn't over slavery. It was over taxes, but it was more about crony capitalism. Taxes that were benefiting the big railroads and certain industrialists in the North. It was really about crony capitalism. If you're part of that, great. Now, if you look way back, 1850, the major sector of the economy was mainly agriculture. So, there was times when we had booms and busts even back in the 1800s, but with agriculture, there wasn't like widespread, starvation like the way they would have possibly today, where, everybody's living in the city and you got a bunch of service-based fluff, not even industrial. The industrial age is actually coming to a close, and all agriculture is pretty much controlled by large corporations. That's why I think when this next freaking reset of the economy occurs, it's going to be horrible, because even though there might be government services and there might be food assistance out there, the inflationary rate on food is going to be ridiculous. And this is why you really need to be buying gold and silver, or storing food directly. But the only thing you're really going to be able to store when there's widespread asset deflation, it's probably going to be gold. But the poor man's gold is silver, right? And that's really what you need to have. But besides that, you have to have all your prepper supplies. I'm not kidding about this type of stuff, because I know I put something out before about Deagle.com warning us. And it's basically a CIA front organization warning us about what's coming up by the year 2025. They're predicting 61 million population and they don't know this. They admit they don't know this, but they're predicting a 61 million population in the United States, down from 315 million, whatever we're at now, and largely due to exodus. People just leaving, and also to all the immigrants that would have came here and probably are on Social Security or whatever, they'll leave too. But the deal is that we have such a debt service. In other words, the government's on such a treadmill right now. There's no possible way that can keep up on this garbage, especially the military expenditures. It's not even the domestic expenditures as much as the military expenditures. And who the hell knows? Tell you the truth, what I've seen in the military, from what I just noticed when I was in for so many years, it was like there is so much fraud, waste, and abuse. It's beyond ridiculous. I'm not saying that our military is ineffective, and I'm not saying they're not motivated. But, just looking at how many dollars we expend does not necessarily mean that we have the most lethal military out there. Although, what I think the real aces up the sleeves are probably some of the high-tech weapons. But then again, I don't know if Russia has that stuff too. But it wouldn't take much if we ever got into a conflict, even if it was very minor. it would cause all the markets to tumble. And I put out a video back on one of my other channels, on my other channel, American Russian Survival, that Russia has these things called tsunami bombs, where they have nukes planted already pre-positioned in the ocean floor to cause tsunamis. Now I know they exaggerate the hell out of what they can do. They'll tell you it goes 900 miles inland, but it doesn't have to do that. It only needs to go 10 miles inland in populated areas in busy ports to totally devastate a large swath of the GDP of the United States. Because if you look at the GDP chart of the United States, it's actually located mainly in the Northeast, around New York, New Jersey, but also Washington. Like if you just took out, if you have Dallas, Atlanta, New York, New Jersey metropolitan area, Washington D.C., Baltimore, Boston, Chicago, Denver, Colorado, Los Angeles, San Francisco Bay Area, and maybe Jacksonville. I don't know if that would be considered Jacksonville or Miami or something. It wouldn't take that much to knock out. Half our GDP is located in the major cities, and a lot of the major cities are located right on the coast. So in times of uncertainty, one thing I can tell you, this high of gold back when it hit $1,975, I think it was around that time, not this 1900. It's next time it's going to go quite a bit higher, but then again, it ain't going to go to where these other guys are probably predicting, because they're going to tell you gold's going to go to $50,000 an ounce. Not maybe, I don't know, maybe 50 years from now, but it ain't going to happen for quite some time. That's going to happen, because the reality situation is as much trouble that the dollar's in. There's nothing really right now. If the dollar went under completely, all the other currencies would go under with it. And any society that is not high tech and is more agricultural based, they're probably going to survive a lot better. Now, that's not our society. Ours is very high tech, just in time delivery and all that type of stuff. But any more of the backward societies are probably going to survive a lot better than us. And if we got this problem where there's a reset and the economy, this is going to be the prelude to probably when Russia's going to strike. Not that I think Russia wants to do this out of the blue, but I don't want to put it. I'm not a Russia phobe here now, but I want to tell you this: if everybody's in a competition, everybody wants to rule the world. China wants to rule the world. The United States is already ruling the world for now, and Japan would rule the world if they could, right? Russia wants to rule the world. Everybody wants to play the game. If they can do it, they'll do it. If the United States has a catastrophic failure can't meet its debt obligations, and the American military has got to be whittled down greatly, which you've seen this happen before in the late 1980s in Russia. We're probably coming up to that point right now in our country, and when that happens, well, I would not doubt there's going to be a lot more aggression in the world at that time, and then Russia's probably going to have it up to here, and they're going to let the United States have it, and it ain't going to take too much to knock the whole thing off kilter, and that's going to be the end of the fiat money game all the way. And I could tell you that people that have the most wealth, they're also the most vulnerable. And I think this goes along with politicians. It goes along even with the people that own the Federal Reserve. They're the most vulnerable. They're constantly worried about their money. I noticed like on a scale of people like maybe with 50 to $100 million net worth. Okay, I don't know about the billionaires. I don't know about Trump. Well, actually, before I was in the military, I worked for the Stern family, but I wasn't like I wasn't like talking to. I used to talk to the old guy, the Max Stern, but he wasn't really involved in the company that much. He was just kind of like there, you know. Um, he was kind of like semi-retired. He was just working in the office there. But after I got out of the military, I was working directly for the people that had the money as their accountant, and um, I kept going up into more and more of it, more and more money, get into more, and now I'm not doing it because it gets a little scary, to tell you the truth. People that got that kind of money, they're not exactly a bunch of saints. I could tell you that right now. It's not like being in la-di-da land like you might think, um, but they are always worried about their money. It's like they can get upside down pretty quick. I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but I give you it's just an example. There was a guy that was in Brazil. He was into he's making most of his money off of oil, and he figured he was going to be the richest guy on earth within inside of a year. He got all upside down. He's broke. That's what happens, though. They got they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable, man. Um, everybody talks about the Rothschilds. Well, the Rothschilds, they started from, at one point in time, they weren't nothing. You know what I mean? It started somewhere. It started somewhere. And I could tell you one thing. I read about Lionel Nathan Rothschild. If he wanted to swear on a Christian Bible, he could have had position years before he got position later. The guy was not, you know, he's probably my third great grandfather, if this Greg Hallett is right, because I know my second great grandfather was Duke Albert Edward, became Edward the Seventh later. Honestly, I might be direct lineage from a Rothschild, but the thing is, the Rothschilds, even like the Stern family. I mean, the guy came over here. They're not the Rothschilds, but actually back when I worked for them, they used to say they were number 4 in the country. They were rated at, I don't know, they were rated in the top 100, but they weren't number 4. But they said officially they were one thing, unofficially they're another thing. But they always worry about money. They always worried about money. And the more times you get something right, the more you get an ego to think you can't make a mistake. And you got a lot of everybody. I can tell you one thing: the wealthy got the biggest problem in this way. We used to call them this is what I call them. I call them the BBBs, the big bucks bullshit. Um, that's what they always get around them. The big bucks professionals that got something like, I got the best advice for you. You got to listen to me, and I charge you so much. These are my consulting fees, and I got the angle on this, and I can make a deal for you like this, and blah blah. They got so many problems with that kind of crap. It's unbelievable. Um, but I could tell you, like I know, like it was kind of like me. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I could change tires on my car myself, and I'm not talking about, um, jacking up the car and bolting on a wheel. But I mean, I got the manual tire changer. I'm going to be fixing to do that tomorrow. When I get my tires in, slap them on the rims myself, clean off the rims, put new tire valves, balance them. I mean, I could do shit. These guys would have money. It's like, if the lights go off in the house due to a hurricane or some bullshit, they got to call somebody up. And if the phone don't work, they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing. They're like as helpless as a baby, man. I'm going to tell you that right now. And that's where sometimes I think the military's got the ace during the times of crisis, because they're going to, they know how to survive on little amounts of resources, and they're ruthless, and they got the weapons to take whatever they need. The elite that have the money, they're in their own little protected class. It's almost like with Rome. Rome, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon. Well, what could the Senate do about it, right? He crossed the Rubicon. What do? Get up there and stop him? Hey, too bad. That's probably what's going to be happening, I think, if we get into a real doom situation. The military is going to run. Well, eventually it'll straighten out because the military is lacking in a lot of things whereby they got to have the support of the people or else they'll be screwed too. Even dictatorships don't work. But in the short term, it's going to be like martial law. That's what'll happen. But as far as the elite that everybody's talking about, like the Rothschilds and these, Schiff is talking about somebody, or I don't know. There's always somebody out there talking like they know the elite or this and that. Nobody knows. Even the elite don't know. If you asked, like for example, I could read on an article about Harold Halm, Hamm. He's the guy, $50 billion. He's the guy that started out working in a gas station, and he's like the shale oil industry king, one of the guys on the top, right, in the United States. Yeah, he can't even predict the price of oil perfect. You know what I mean? He screws up. He thinks it's going to be one thing, and it's not always that. It's not, just because he did good on certain things, but he ain't always right. But that's typically what the elite are. I mean, they don't freaking know. They don't know. Now, I think where there's so many elite got the aces is when they make the deal with the devil. But, that's getting down to religion. I'm not really religious, but I think there's something to this because I could tell you one thing. Ultimately, there is something behind the scenes where there's like a battle between good and evil. And the ones with the most money today are in with the evil all the way. That's why sometimes when you're investing in silver, you shouldn't be thinking too much about the money all the way. And I always like to think of it because it's got antimicrobial, medicinal purposes, and it's a great healer. Because that's what you could do with silver. You can make loads of colloidal silver with it. That's the one thing I think where it's a magic and it's got an ace beyond other metals. No other precious metal really has the medicinal quantities and qualities, I meant to say. But people, when you start looking, people start looking too much on the money angle. Sometimes they lose sight of what the big picture is too. And that goes with anything. It's like you got to go with your passion. And if you're passionate about silver, you shouldn't be just passionate about money. See, that's actually the problem. That's the pitfall of the elite. Because they get so focused in on money that it winds up that's the only thing they got. The family's a bunch of users. People around them that are friends aren't really their friends because they're the friends because they got money or they need them for something. In other words, if this guy had a lot of his money and he lost all this money and he was out there on the street, hitching a ride, he's destitute, looking for his next meal, all these people that are around him kissing his ass, they'd be like vaporware. They wouldn't be around. So that's the problem. Like, if you concentrate too much on money, that's all you got. But that's all these guys worry about, man. Money. In a very, very, I said, in a very, very precarious predicament all the time. They do not know. They worry. I swear to God, I remember one guy I worked for, man, he used to always have nightmares about the Great Depression. He was freaking born. It was like the Great Depression was just about over with when he was born. But that's what he was always worried about. Always worried about that shit. He was always worried about losing all his money. I swear to God. And actually, some of these people, man, I don't even want to get into the details. I mean, there's other overseas clients that they they got into a lot of hot water. I mean, some of these other people, they would have got fried, except they died. They died, so nothing happened with them. Guy's dead. I don't want to name names, man, because one of them was actually the guy was a. Now I didn't work for this guy directly, but he was a Rhodes Scholar, Harvard, and Yale, all three, graduate of all three universities, smart as a whip. He died at age 53 of pancreatic cancer. Sometimes I wonder if that was, somebody gave that to him or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's kind of a weird thing, Pancreatic cancer, dies at age 53. He's got all the best medical in the world, best health food. Guy wasn't fat or anything like that. Just died at age 53. I'm just remembering this off the top of my head right now. But, a lot of people want to know what's going on with the elite. Don't worry about what's going on with the elite. The elite don't even know what the hell's going on with them. They worry about what you're looking at in your screen right here. That's what they worry about. They're scared. They're always scared. But, they are smart mofos, man. I'm going to tell you this. Every person, this is what always gets me. I used to see these people, and other people would say, that guy's stupid. I'll say, no, he's not. He said, why do you say he's stupid? Well, he doesn't know this, and that. I said, he's not stupid. If he's got that kind of money, he's not stupid. Understand? He's not stupid. Just because he doesn't know something specific that you know, doesn't mean he's stupid. But the other side of it is, you don't need to know, specifics on a lot of different things to make money. You got to understand who's bullshitting you and who's not. Like always, going back to square one, the people that probably the biggest problem for the elite is, I always call them the BBB, the BBBS, the big bucks BS, because they always get these people around them. There's always these people trying to get in with them for consulting. I got a deal. I want you to get in with this. I want we can make a lot of money if you do this with me and all this kind of shit. That's always going on. And sometimes it's legit, sometimes it's not, or sometimes it's the guy's sincere and you don't know what he's doing, and it's like an ongoing thing. But nothing's static, nothing. Like the Rothschilds, they were nothing at one time. Like the place I worked for a long time ago, Stern family, they came over here with some birds and parakeets and stuff, and there were hearts with birds and pet products. And now they're construction. They've been construction for decades now. They built the New Jersey's sports arena, Meadowlands, and racetrack, and Giant Stadium, and all that garbage, right? Years ago. That was back when I worked for them, And, it changes. It changes. I don't want to say too much more about that shit. But everything changes. And, somebody starts at nothing. They always start at nothing. But the point is, these people with a lot of money, they worry about this shit all the time, man. And everybody around you is a freaking user. That's what sucks about some of this shit, man. The more you got, the more you got to worry about it. And they worry about their money all the time. So I can make a few more comments on this about some other people, but I don't think I want to get too specific. But for you people that are always curious about what's going on with the elite, because these guys, I see this stuff. Ben Fulford, he talks about, I think he's a CIA guy or some crap. There's so many people that put out these videos about what the elite are doing with the drama videos and, drama music in the background. The elite don't even know what the hell they're doing. And even when they think they know what they're doing, there's so many competing factions trying to rule that nobody knows where it's going, man. But ultimately, it's like good versus evil. And, I've been, recently, like I said, I've been putting out a lot of these videos about the war between the states, Confederacy, and all that. Actually, this whole country changed from, a agrarian, um, individual rights, stand on your own 2 feet type of nation into crony capitalism with the end result after the war between the states or the Civil War, and it's gotten worse and worse. And, we basically morphed into an empire. And the empire is going kibbutz. But you know what? That's probably a damn good thing, because I'm going to tell you right now, that's probably the only way you're going to defeat the empire, man, because you're not going to be able to outspend it. You're not going to be able to out-resource it or anything like that. It's just going to have to freaking fall apart on its own. And that's why you're preparing. That's why you're preparing. So anyway, just figure I'm giving you a little bit of a pep talk here, because I think this year, though, see, I'm highly suspicious. Like, I'm not 110% on the page with Trump, but I think he's about the best you could freaking expect for, consider. I know he's not. I know people expected way more out of him than I knew it wasn't going to happen, but he's the best you could hope for under present circumstances. But even if he's disappointing some of the alternative media out there, I can tell you one thing: he's still not in with the elite as much as the elite want him to be, and I think during his administration they're going to crash the crap out of the economy just to try to make him a one-term president. And if he's a one-term president, the next person that comes in is going to be the one that's really going to drag the United States down and probably make that Deagle.com CIA prediction of true. Like, it's really going to probably start from 2020 onward. But 2017 might be a market crash. We've been on we should have really, if we're going by the normal cycles, we should have already had a market crash in 2015. A market, and right now we're on the longest uptick in history on the Dow, where it's been going up for so many months in a row. It used to be the one in the 20s and resulted in a 29 crash. Now we've been going on forever. I mean, it's ridiculous. So it is going to hit. It is going to hit. I don't know exactly when, but I think it's going to start happening in 2017. But there's not going to be one thing that's going to bring down the United States. It's going to be one thing here, then, it looks like it's getting fixed. And another thing, and another thing, and another thing. And before you know it, it's going to lead to a lot of, because everything's predicated upon this has got to work, or this has got to work, and this has got to work. If you don't have all these different things in place, it can really knock out the whole scenario. In other words, even a minor conflict, even a major terrorist attack, not a war, but just a terrorist attack in New York City that involved a dirty bomb, would bring down the whole United States economy. That would do it. You would see people's investments in the equities freaking be greatly diminished, just like what happened in 9/11. And I think that might happen. I don't know. It could be a false flag too. I don't know. But like I said, you gotta don't think about, because I'm gonna tell you, the more you start thinking about money, you'll wind up being like those people I used to have to work for, and they got an insatiable appetite. I swear to God, I felt like the guy on a cartoon, Scrooge McDuck, and I'm an accountant. I'm shoveling in gold nuggets as fast as I can, and no matter how fast they shovel them in, guy wants more, right? That's kind of how it works, you know. And I'm thinking, you know, there's a lot of things out there because I think about the guy that died with pancreatic cancer at age 53. He had everything in the world. He had all the education, all this crap. He's dead. Sometimes you got to be more. That's another thing. You got to worry more. You worry more about your health than the money. But you know, that's the deal. That's the deal. So anyway, just figured I'd put this out and tell you this stuff because I think I'm like one of the few people out there that really puts common sense out, and I don't talk professional for a reason. I'm not here to try to impress a client. I'm not here trying to use $500 words so I can increase my billing fee. Okay? I'm not doing this kind of garbage on YouTube. I'm just talking plain. I'm familiar with the games that the people play. I'm not familiar with the billionaires. I have seen their financials, though. And sometimes, I can tell you one thing I do know is there's billionaires out there that aren't on the Forbes list at all. None. They ain't on this Forbes list. That Forbes list is bullcrap. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I really doubt that these billionaires are going to have the money that they think they have if there's ever like a real financial reset of the economy, because it's all in electrons. It's all based by the full faith and credit of the United States government and stuff like this. It ain't going to take much to freaking destroy the value of the dollar itself. You know, I don't think it's going to get destroyed, but it could be greatly diminished. Let me put it that way. And you know, that's the last plank of what they talked about many years ago about, you know, going to 0% interest, using QE1, QE2, QE3. The last step in fighting to keep the U.S. government afloat with all its debt is to devalue the dollar. And I think it's going to be mainly devalued against the Chinese money. So you're not going to see Chinese imports cheap anymore. So I'm not totally against buying stuff that's made in China as long as it's like durable goods, like maybe Harbor Freight tools or Pittsburgh jack stands for your car or something, you know, that kind of junk. So anyway, do not always invest 100% into silver, but silver, be that it's also a medicinal type of thing, it's a very smart investment, because when people wake up to what the medicinal capabilities are of silver, everybody in the world is going to want at least 4 or 5 ounces, and there sure as hell is not enough out there to do that. And you know what? Just for that reason alone, silver could go up to a couple $100 an ounce. If people don't have access to pharmaceutical meds and they need antibiotic treatments and stuff like that, and you know, silver is a bona fide, you know, treatment that can be used on a human body to fight microbes. Well, and everybody start picking up on this, well, guess what? People ain't gonna, you know, because right now, I mean, somebody pays $100 for not even, you know, 30 pills, or maybe sometimes you pay $20 a pill for a pharmaceutical. They'll gladly pay that for silver. Freaking thing will make, you know, a few ounces of silver can make hundreds of gallons of colloidal silver, right? And you know what you can do with that. That's why I think this metal is going to go up a lot. Not necessarily because of the fall of the dollar, but once people start get this in their survival mode, and they get this recognition that silver is medicinal, antibacterial, and health, you know, DIY type health, then it's going to be worth big bucks. Everybody's going to want it, and it ain't enough around to go around. Anyway, over and out. Keep the faith, and don't worry too much about money, because if you start turning into one of those people that gets a lot of money, that's all you worry about, and everything else, you know, it's just screwed up. It's screwed up across the world. You know, it's like they get caught in a trap. It's like Hillary Clinton, all she worried about was politics. Look what happened to her. If you worry only about money, you're going to be stuck in a trap, just like Hillary Clinton boxed herself in with politics. Okay, over and out.